Hey everybody, it's Ron from Ron's Computer Videos. Hey, with another fun video, maybe talking to you about something that I've been thinking about a lot lately, which is the new external BlueSCSI device. These are kind of cool. I really dig these just because they make it really easy to set up a Macintosh or do backups and things like that. Kind of in a way that's maybe a little bit easier than using kind of the traditional BlueSCSI. As you can see, the new device is maybe not much bigger than the Blue Pill itself, but this is just sort of another member of the family that does kind of a fun thing in that, again, is just provides you an easy way that you can hook this up to externally to a Macintosh for the purposes of maybe setting that machine up for the first time or doing backups. So let's talk about a fun way to get this all set up for use. And you really don't need much outside of just a few items you might already have, maybe other than the BlueSCSI, but go ahead and get that ordered. So you'll definitely go ahead and you'll need BlueSCSI. I like this one. I think Bruce over at Breckus Creations. This is the kind of the color scheme that he had on his, so I really like that, and I was very appreciative that it was able to be printed in this color. But you'll need this. You're also going to need at least a I would say probably a 8 gigabyte micro SD card just to hold all the project files that we're going to have today. And then also you may need, depending on your Macintosh, if it does not provide SCSI termination power, you're either going to need a USB cable to plug in so that way that you can go ahead and get some power to this device. They also have these Berg to Molex style connectors. So if you have for maybe like an external PC hard drive or something like that, you could plug this in. And then if you're going to maybe do this with a PowerBook, which is kind of my use case for the next couple of weeks, you're going to need one of these HDI SCSI adapters that just converts that high density PowerBook connection to a regular DB25. So let's go ahead and let's talk about ordering up the device and then kind of getting everything ready, and then we'll talk about the software, and then we'll get everything set up so you can see it kind of how the sausage is made, I guess. Okay, for sure you want to head over to BlueSCSI.com where you can check out the different sellers and such that actually have these devices. The one that I purchased, I got from from Tom Barber, and out here on his website, he has a bunch of different things that he's got on offer, but he does have the new DB25 external one. Right now it says that it's out of stock, but it's possible that by the time you actually see this video, that they could be back in stock again. You'll just have to check the website. Now let's talk about all the software that we're going to need for the project today. The first thing you want to do is you're going to want to head over to BlueSCSI.com, and at the top you'll see this little thing that says Received a BlueSCSI? Start here. When you click that link, it's going to take you over to Eric Helgeson's BlueSCSI page. And there is just a ton of information about the project out here. And I very much encourage you to kind of hang out and read some of this data. But what we're going to need today in the context of the project we're working on is we're going to need some of these blank image files that he has out here. So let's go ahead and run over. We can click this link that says pre-formatted blank disk images here. So we're going to click that. And then under this section that says blanks, we're going to go ahead and we're going to click this link that'll take us over to the download section on GitHub. And then we're going to click the download link. And what that is going to do is it's going to download just like a zip file that has a bunch of those blank images in there of varying sizes. So what we'll do is we will cut over to monitor 2 and we'll get that extracted and we'll talk about what we're going to do next. Hey, welcome to monitor 2. That zip file has a folder inside that says MacHD, and when we go in, it has a bunch of other zip files that have copies of the disk image in various capacities. Well, it is 2022, and we have the blessing of size. So I would say that anything we're going to set up, we want to use that 2 gigabyte image because we're probably setting up machines that have no issue addressing a partition that size. So what I'm going to say is let's go ahead. I've made a directory here at the root of my hard drive called BlueSCSI that we're going to kind of use as a scratch space today with working on the projects. So let's go ahead. We're going to make a copy. We're going to extract that file out to our sort of scratch space. And then we're going to make another copy of it because for reasons that will become obvious later. Back over here at the web, there's a couple of other things that we're going to need to download as part of our project. And one of those is the Apple Legacy Recovery Software CD. And this is a disc that I guess Apple maybe used to give to repair shops and things like that, official repair shops, that had basically all the tools and drivers and stuff you needed for all their official hardware. It's super handy for setting up machines that are kind of the 7.6.1 era and back. I would probably say if you're going to actually try to boot this, I would say like a Mac SE and up. I'm not sure how well it works on the Plus. Your mileage may vary, and I'd be very interested here in the comments some of the weird machines you try it out on. But we're going to go ahead and we're going to download this zip file. And that's going to take a couple of minutes to download because it's like the size of a CD. But there's a couple of other things we're going to need as well. So let's go and look at those too. The other thing that we're going to need is over here on Dave and Steve's blog, like savagetailor.com. They have cracked sort of a big problem with all this, and that is sort of a chicken and an egg problem that you have when you want to download Macintosh software, but things are archived or things are in a format that the base operating system just can't deal with. And so what we're going to do is we are going to, and they rarely update the images. It hasn't been updated in about, well, just like a year, but still, it is amazing all of the great software that is on there that's going to really give us a leg up on getting a new machine set up, or maybe even improving an old machine, and great tools for benchmarking and all kinds of stuff. So let's go ahead, and we're going to go ahead and go down, and we'll just pick the 2 GB image. It doesn't really hurt anything. We're going to go ahead and get the 7.5.5. Click that and download it. Now that it says it's like a 2 GB drive file, but it's only a couple hundred megabytes, or maybe a couple dozen megabytes, because it's compressed. So as soon as those files get downloaded, we'll go back over to monitor 2 and we'll go ahead and get them extracted and get everything ready to go in our emulator. Okay, we've got those files downloaded. We went ahead and we've already got the Mac HD, those blank disk images extracted. We made a copy of that, so we've got 2 things to kind of work with. Let's go ahead and let's get that file extracted from over there at Savage Tailor. And let's go ahead and get that Apple Legacy Recovery ISO extracted. Great. All right, so we got all of our files extracted. Looking good. All right, here's what we're going to do. We are going to go ahead and we are going to name these things logical names just for the purposes of what we're going to do next. So that way that we can kind of keep a track on things and hopefully not get confused, which is pretty easy for sometimes for me to get confused on this. So what we're going to do is we're going to take one of these files and we're going to call it Apple Legacy Recovery CD. And then we're going to take the other one of those files and we're going to call it Savage Tailor, ST. Good enough, right? All right. So let's go ahead and let's get Basilisk 2 going here. Let's get all this stuff cleared out from previous attempts. And Basilisk 2 is a great little emulator. I use emulators to kind of do some of these things just because it's much faster to use in physical Macs. And if you don't have a kind of a legacy Macintosh to kind of do some of these things, it makes it really difficult. It's another one of those horse and cart sort of issues where if you don't have the right tools to do the thing, it makes it almost impossible to do the thing. I just remember when I kind of got back into things, trying to do everything with floppies, what a pain in the butt. This is a really great way to really just kind of like blast past all that and just get to the fun parts of this. So let's go ahead. And the way that I have mine configured, it's just configured like super generic, like a 2CI. You're welcome to configure it however you want, I guess, whatever's stable in your machine. But let's go ahead and let's get that Apple Legacy Recovery ISO, get that added. And then let's go ahead and let's get that blank disk image that I renamed, like Apple Legacy Recovery CD. Let's get that added as well. We'll make sure the Apple Legacy Recovery CD ISO is at the top. And then let's start. Okay, so we have our emulator up. And what we're going to go ahead and do is we booted off that ISO. And we are going to go ahead and copy the contents of that over to our blank disk image. And I am sure that there is somebody at home that is saying, why not do CD emulation? And you probably could. I just do it this way because it's very easy and it gives me more scratch space and stuff to kind of work and do other things later, especially if you get in a jam. So we are going to copy all that stuff over. Hopefully this copies without issue. And there you go. We now have a copy of the data from that ISO over here on this hard drive. You can go through and clean this up if that's your jam, or you can just leave it as it is. But I am definitely going to go ahead and make the disk image name the same as that original Legacy Recovery CD. And that is just to keep things straight in my brain. And let's go ahead and we're going to do the exact same thing with the disk image that we downloaded from Savage Taylor. So let's do that. I shut the emulator down and I brought it back up. And what we're going to go ahead and do, we're going to remove, or actually no, just for testing purposes, let's go ahead and we're going to boot from the disk image that we just copied all the stuff from the ISO. Let's go ahead and we're going to go out here and grab a copy of the original disk image that we got from Savage Taylor. And we're going to go ahead and grab a copy of the blank file that that we have. So let's go ahead and grab that and let's start the emulator. We're back up with the emulator. And what you'll see out here on this thing, it says 7.5.5, 2 gigabyte. This is the image from Savage Taylor. We're going to go ahead and we're going to copy the utilities. We're going to leave the system folder and everything behind, but we are just going to copy kind of the big stuff that's going to be useful for us, sort of setting up other machines or backing other machines up or whatever it is we're going to be doing. So let's go ahead. We're going to grab all this. Oh, wait, sorry. And I'm on a PC, so it's kind of difficult. I can't hold the command key down. So we'll do this as two little operations. Okay, make sure. Hey, great. So again, we're not using a ton of space on here, but we are using, or we do have enough space to do backups and do other fun things. So let's go ahead. I'm just rearranging stuff because I like it to be pretty. But what we're going to go ahead and do is this this other blank image that we have, we're going to call this one, maybe we'll call this utilities. UTILITIES. Yeah, that looks good enough. Close enough, right? Okay. And there's also a couple of utilities that by default end up here as shortcuts on your desktop, like drop disks, so you can mount disk images, and Stuff It Expander. Believe it or not, it's like a real horse and cart issue with trying to get some of these things decompressed so that you can use the app. What a pain. This cuts right through that. So, all right. Well, we've got these things set up, looking good. So let's go ahead. We're going to shut down. And let's go ahead and let's get Basilisk 2 going again. And let's just make sure that our disk images that we just populated work and will show up again on a reboot. So let's start the emulator. All right, lucky for us, everything seems to be working okay. We've got the Legacy Recovery CD up and running. We have the utilities drive that has all the stuff from Savage Taylor out there. And again, if you haven't checked this out, I mean, it's decompression tools, there's SCSI mounting tools, there's drivers for different things. It's very, very handy. It's absolutely worth checking out if you've never seen it before. So, but I'll let you explore that on your own. All right, so now that we have tested and made sure that these disk images look okay and everything, let's go ahead and get them named and let's get them copied over to our micro SD card. All right, we're at the point in our journey where we need to make sure that everything is named correctly so that these things actually boot. So if you head over to the GitHub page for BlueSCSI and you go to the usage section, you will see some like kind of a cheat sheet basically of how to name your devices to make sure that they actually show up. There's good examples, bad examples. What we're going to do is we're basically just going to copy and paste. We're going to get one of the good examples here, and we're going to use that as the basis for what we're going to do over here on our drive images that we've set up. So you have to keep in mind that most Macintoshes are going to have their primary hard drive set to SCSI ID 0. And then if they have a CD-ROM drive, those are going to be set to like 3. That's the classic sort of configuration that Apple always did. So that way that higher SCSI IDs have boot priority. So something at ID 6 is going to boot before something at ID 0. And we're going to take advantage of that with what we're about to do here. So let's go ahead and let's rename our Apple Legacy Recovery CD. And we want to go ahead and make sure that this is going to be our first booting device. So we're going to say HD6. The example of this is that is the SCSI ID. This is the LUN of the device, which is like logical units. So that way that if you had more than one SCSI controller, we're not going to worry about all that. We're just dealing with like classic Macs. So let's leave that alone. Leave 512 alone. And then anything past the space, you can name this whatever you like to kind of keep things organized. I think you're going to be limited by long file name limits and whatever your operating system is. So we're just going to call this Apple Legacy CD. And there you go. That's our little file. And it's going to go ahead and be at SCSI ID 6. And that'll be the first thing it tries to boot when we go ahead and we get that all set up and going. So let's go ahead and we're going to take now that file from Savage Taylor and we'll paste our thing in again. We're going to make this ID 5 so that way that it would be the next lower thing. It's not bootable, but it's going to stay out of the way of those default SCSI IDs that Apple used on these machines. So let's call this one, let's delete all the stuff. We'll call it Savage, or actually, we'll ST Utils. There you go. Pretty easy to remember, I guess. All right. Now at this point, let's go ahead and let's get our stuff copied over to our SD card. Now I would say if you are using a PC, it is probably a good idea to use a formatting utility just to make sure that everything kind of gets set up and get you the best start possible. The Windows formatter is fine, but I kind of like Rufus. Let's go ahead and let's get that downloaded as well. You can click the link down here and we'll cut back over to monitor 2. All right, here's Rufus. I had a 16 gig card laying around, so I'm going to go ahead and just do that for the purposes of showing you Rufus. We're going to make this a non-bootable disk. We're going to make sure we're going to format this and call it BlueSCSI. Looking good. We're going to go ahead and make sure that it is set to exFAT, which seems to be the faster way of doing all of this and kind of the best compatibility. We are not going to create extended disk labels and things like that just because we don't really need any of that. So this looks good. Let's format it. Are you sure you want to wipe all the data? Yeah, why not? And all right, we have our drive formatted. Let's just copy our files over and that's it. So we'll grab our 2 HDAs that we just created. We'll copy them over. This will take a minute or two, but as soon as it's done, we're ready to just go ahead and pop that right back into our external BlueSCSI and start working on some Macs. So anyway, I just thought this would be a fun thing to share. Maybe there's some people that have been on the fence. They think maybe the process is too difficult to get these things set up. But with a little bit of knowledge, anything is possible. So thanks for spending a little bit of time with me today. Maybe I'm going to take a second to go ahead and thank all of my wonderful patrons over at patreon.com. Don't forget that for only $1 a month, you can get your name in the end of any of my videos, like some of these great people. If you would go ahead and check out and see what I'm doing over there. And then I've also got some great links and stuff where you can follow me and see what else is going on. But sort of, you know, as I always say, Apple II forever. Have a wonderful day.